Stop what you're doing. I'm about to show you how to draw the perfect eye. So if you've been drawing eyes like this, or like that, you're at the right place. We're gonna fix that issue right here and right now. Don't worry, we're gonna get there. Normally when it comes to us artists, we do like to tend to jump the gun and we don't really like to learn things step by step. So here I wanna break down what's actually going on with the eye and the anatomy behind the eye to make sure that the eye that you're drawing becomes more crisp and becomes a lot more believable. I remember when I first started to learn, I used to always look at anime references and different sort of drawings, and I never really used to study what the eye used to look like underneath all the mess, you know? You do have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, that the eye is a ball, right? We have to remember that the eye is actually a ball and it has all this skin wrapped around that ball. Yeah, and then we're gonna draw the iris in there. Then what comes after is the pupil. So this is our framework right now. You gotta remember this, right? When we're drawing an eye, that this is actually what's underneath everything. So let's try and remember this. The iris is the black hole of your eye. The pupil is where you get the color from. So if you have brown eyes, blue eyes, whatever eye color you have, that's the pupil. And the sclera is the actual white part, is the actual ball, the sphere, you know? So underneath all that skin, that's what's there. Let's try and keep a mental note of this information. So going forward, it's just gonna help out when you're trying to look for your research and you're trying to do some different studies. You can just refer back to this sort of video because you're going to know exactly what this stuff is, right? So there's another thing that I want you guys to keep a mental note of, and that is the cornea. And I'm going to draw it on a side profile view so you guys can see how it looks like. So looking at the eye on the profile view, you're gonna get the cornea, which will be coming out of the eye, right? You can think of this like a contact lens. So if you've ever wore a contact lens before, you can think of it like that. It sits on top of your eyeball, right? It's almost the thing that protects your eye. And the lens of your eye will be sitting somewhere about here, right there. So this part here, this is your cornea. The cornea actually plays a very important part in knowing how the anatomy of the eye is, because whenever you're coloring in or you're shading, it's going to determine where your highlight is going to be. That's why it's very important that you remember that the cornea actually comes out of your eye, almost like a contact lens. So for a better diagram, this is your iris, right? This is your pupil. Let's shade that in black so you know. And then your cornea, and then the cornea comes out a little bit. You've got your pupil, you've got your iris, and you've also got your sclera. Sclera? Your sclera? Your sclera?
Sclera.
What he said, sclera. So knowing that the eye is actually a ball, we're going to start structuring it right now. And how I like to do this is I like to add 3 planes for the top of the eye, and I like to add 2 planes for the bottom of the eye. And it normally goes something like this. This is my first plane, and then going into my second plane like this. So 1, 2, and I like to come down for my third plane, which will look somewhat like that. We've got 1 plane, we've got 2, and then we've got 3. And then for the bottom plane,
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, quiet. Damn, Alexa. And for the bottom plane, I like to add 2. It would be 1, and that would be 2, right? And you see, when you look at it like this, it reminds you that, okay, the eye is a sphere. It's not just a flat shape, right? So when it comes to you shading in the sclera, you're going to know that it's actually a sphere. So you're going to shade around it, making it look like an actual sphere instead of keeping it as a flat shape, which will make it look a lot more realistic. And that's one thing that artists tend to forget. Well, new artists, learning artists, they tend to forget that one thing. And it really does make a big difference to your drawing. So please try and keep that in mind. Another thing, this part right here is called the tear duct, the inner fleshy side of your eye. Okay, so let's just slow down now. Let's slow down. So now that we're at this step, we can finally start removing all of this unnecessary stuff. Keeping in mind that the eye is a sphere, because we're going to get back to that, but just keep that in mind, obviously. Please, you, yes, you, I'm talking to you, always use reference. I can't stress that enough. because if you're learning, I want you to look at a real life image so you can see what you're actually drawing, right? So now we're left with this, right? A basic standard eye. And you're thinking, Sage, okay, so what next? Like, what's the next motion? What's the next move? And do not worry, young one. I've got you. I've got you. Okay, so now here is where we start to draw the eyelid and the eyelashes. And when I draw the eyelid, I always tend to go with the shape of the three planes at the top of the eye. So it goes like this, and then it comes down like that, right? So as you can see over here, the skin on the eyelid is actually overlapping in this corner over here. It's overlapping. Sometimes I like to, draw a little shadow there just to show you guys that, it's a bit more darker over there because it's overlapping. And people have different eyes, right? Not everybody has eyelids. Like some people don't have any eyelids, and it changes depending on who you're looking at. But I always like to include it because I don't know, I just think it looks pretty nice when I draw it. So I always include it in my drawing, but just remember that not everybody has this, and you'll have to change it depending on who you're looking at, what your reference looks like. And it does make a very big difference to how your eye is actually going to look like. The rule in this is the top of the eye has 3 different planes. And when I draw the eyelid, it follows them 3 planes. Just keep in mind that the bottom of the eyelid, depending on where you're looking at it, you're going to see the top plane of the bottom of the eyelid. And it will look somewhat like this, right? When you're drawing it. So you can already see that it's giving us more of a 3D type of look to it. It's not looking flat anymore. So you can shade this in. I do like to shade it in. You don't have to do this though, but I like to shade it in just a little bit, just so it reminds me that it's a flat surface at the top of the bottom of the eyelid. I know it sounds really complicated, but once you carry on doing this, and like I said before, please look at references. But once you keep doing this more and understanding the placement of the eye, it will just feel like second nature to you. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the last stage of this, and we're gonna start drawing the eyelashes. The way how you draw this is it will normally flick off the eye, like outwards. I can't really explain this really good. I'm just gonna have to show you right now. So going back to the drawing pad or pen and paper, whatever you're using, I like to normally start somewhere in the middle. I just like to draw some strands, flicking up, just like this. It curves down and it shoots itself back up. So something like this. If you keep doing it like this, it will give it that sort of 3D look. Making sure that it curves down and flicks back up is very important, because that's what will give you that 3D type of look that you're going for. Hopefully that you're going for. As we go more further to the corner of the eye, the strands seem to get a lot more fuller and a lot more thicker. It appears a lot more thicker and longer. When it comes to the bottom of the eyelashes are a lot more thinner and a lot more spread out. It does not begin over here, right? It doesn't begin over here. Where it actually begins is over here. They will be a lot more spread out over here. Nowhere near as thick as the ones at the top. I don't really like to do too much at the bottom, just because the hair at the bottom isn't really that much. Can kind of go overboard and start making it look very weird if you start adding way too much eyelashes at the bottom of the eye. So I like to keep it a lot more simple when it comes to the bottom compared to the top. Anyway, so the eyebrow. How I like to do the eyebrow is I kind of like to map it out like this. I pinpoint where the tear duct is on the eye. Remember, the tear duct is this area right here. I like to draw a line going up like this. And then from here, it kind of gives me an idea where the eyebrow is going to start. To begin like this, and then comes down like that. Right? Perfect. Just like that. And now I'm just going to shade in the pupil. So you know that I know that we all know that the eye is a sphere. So when it comes to shading stuff in, we know that it's going to curve around like this. And it's going to follow that sphere type of form. And I just like to shade stuff in with these quick lines. See, right now I'm really trying to indicate and show you that this is curving around I'm really trying to indicate that it's a sphere and it's not a flat shape. That is what's going to make it look a lot more believable. So that's what you really want to aim for, keeping it as a 3D object, which will make it look more alive. I'm going to add the highlight right here. So could be one highlight right here, you know, it could be different, you know, it could be one there could be another one right here. You can start adding more details where the iris is. You know, you can start adding your strands like this, you know, the eye kind of has some detail like this. I just want you guys to get the basic form, the anatomy of the eye. So when we do end up going into the shading part, we do end up going into the coloring part, I'll make a completely separate video of that step by step. But right now, I don't want to overload your head with so much information, right? You don't have the capacity for that right now. But it's okay. It's okay. We'll get there. But right now, baby steps, right? Baby steps. Baby steps. And from here on out, we can start stylizing this art and making it look more like an anime eye. If that's what you intend to do, I'll make it look a lot more realistic. We can move on to more in-depth shading, more shadows, more colors. It just depends on where you want to go. I went ahead and I started drawing different sort of eyes and different sort of angles. Like here, it was more of a serious type of look. Give that viciousness, that dog, I am him type of look. Or you can give the more shy type of look. You can start doing so much different things once you understand the basics. Moving forward, we can begin stylizing the art, making it more into an anime style art, just like how I've done right now. Or we can start doing the coloring in. You guys will have to let me know in the comments, what would you want to see? More stylized type of eyes, more anime type of eyes. Do you want me to go through the steps of coloring eyes in, the shading parts, whatever it is, you guys let me know in the comments. Like I said before, I'm always looking at the comments, so let me know in the comments and we can make this work. Just gotta let me know. We'll make this work. But just remember, we've got to go through step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4, You get the whole idea, right? You get it. You understand. You're a smart man or a smart girl. You understand. I know you understand. I believe that you understand. Peace.